Hi everyone, today I just wanted to give a quick overview of a new tool I've been working on called Visualizer, or Visualizer for ConfigMgr. So this tool is really about visualizing data that can be a right pain in the butt to try and figure out by sort of clicking through various options in the GUI. So for example, your collections and their dependency chains, whether that be the limiting collections or the include and exclude rules that you've got going on, also applications and the application dependencies. As I go along, there'll be a few more things coming in as I get time and requirements for various people and feature requests and that kind of thing. So first thing, when you get the tool, there's a couple of files you're going to need. These two ones here, admin UI WQL query engine.dll and the Microsoft.configurationmanagement.management-provider.dll. So these are two DLLs that are provided as part of the ConfigMgr console. Obviously I can't include them because they're not my DLLs. So they are available from your install directory from the admin console. So for example, a server that's normally, or by default anyway, C program files, Microsoft Configuration Manager, admin console, bin. So just grab those two files, chuck them in your directory, and you're basically good to go. From there, just run up visualizer.exe. Now, by default, it will pass through whatever login details you've got. If you want to, you can change your details. These will also pull the default details. These are coming from the registry from your ConfigMgr install. If you don't have the admin console installed on a machine, you can still run this. You'll just need to put these things in manually. So just click OK to log in, and here's the tool. So you've got a few tabs up the top here. You've got device collections, user collections, and applications. It's pretty self-explanatory what those are about. You have a search, a build mode, a build button, and a find. And you've got the same thing on the user collections. They're basically the same setup. Now how this works is when you do a search, you're going to get a list of collections back. If you just leave it blank, it'll just bring back everything. And from there, you're going to get a list of collections. Now, once you get your list of collections, pick one that you're interested in and click build. What that's going to do is build this kind of map here. Now, what this is the map or graph of all the dependencies that are going on with this green collection here, collection name number 5 in this case, which is just my lab. That gets highlighted green, and then you've got all the relationships going on relating to that collection. So what we can do here, move things in and out. We can zoom in and out however much we want to. And sometimes it's useful just because of the way this gets built to sort of drag things around a little bit. So collection name number 5 has this black line here. That's its limiting collection. So its limiting collection is collection name number 1. The limiting collection for collection name number 1 is lab all systems, and then the lab all systems collection has a limiting collection of all systems. So immediately you can kind of see this whole dependency chain going on here. As well as that, this collection also has include rules for collection name number 2 and the all systems collection. And so you can also see all the relationships for those collections. So basically this is a full map of all the collections relating to collection name number 5. If you just want to see the limiting collection path, so you don't want to know about all these includes and excludes, what you can do is you come over here to the build mode, and if you just change it to limiting and rebuild it, that'll just do the limiting collection chain. So collection name number 5 has a limiting collection of number 1 all the way up the chain. The last mode you've got here is context. So if we click build on that, so this is all the collections that come back from a query, and then what it will do, it will highlight the collection you selected in green, and then it will highlight the limiting collection chain in blue. So it's kind of a way to represent that limiting collection chain inside the bigger collection picture. So if there's some other collections kind of floating around that you think may be related but aren't directly related to collection name number 5, you can kind of see that sort of map. Depending on how many collections you have, that may be useful, it might not be. Because these maps can get pretty huge once you've got a lot of collections coming back. Now, the last thing you can do on this particular pane in terms of the stuff that I've been working on anyway, is down here at the bottom there's a device search box. So if we enter a device name, so I've got a machine called test number 1, this will now go through and everything on this map, every collection that this device is a member of will be highlighted yellow or orange or whatever you want to call that. So the point of this particular feature is to say, for example, I'm expecting test device number 1 to be in collection 5, but in my console it's not. So what you can do is you've now got this chain. It's usually best to start with a limiting one, so we'll do it here. So if we click on find, so now if it came back that only these 2 collections were highlighted orange but not these ones, you've straight away got a view of where in the dependency chain this device is getting stuck, and so therefore where you need to target your investigation. Now if you want to filter this list, obviously you can just put some details into the search and then you get back what you're expecting and you can rebuild it as you want. Now just before I go any further, this tool is built on a Microsoft open source library called MSAGL, which that's the thing that does all of the actual graphing and allows you to do things like all this dragging and all this kind of stuff. So all of these buttons here, these are actually MSAGL library buttons, and you can do things like save the graph out to a bitmap. If you use the little hand here, you can drag things around. You've got zoom buttons. This button here, so where this might be useful is if we just do, let's do a build of everything. You can grab this option here and zoom it over an area and it will attempt to zoom into that area. So that's quite handy. Zoom back out again. The interesting one here is this layout algorithm settings. So if we click on that, now some views and some searches look better in different layout methods than others. So by default it uses MDS. Don't ask me what these things mean because I've got no idea. So the ones I tend to use a lot are the MDS layout method and the ranking layout method. The thing I like about the layout, see, I'm in the wrong tool. The thing I like about the ranking layout method is that if you have a collection that includes its limiting collection, what can happen is that there are multiple arrows that get created. So for here it's got a black line for the limiting collection and a blue line for the include rule. Some of the other modes kind of merges those into one and you lose a little bit of visibility. Otherwise it's roughly the same. So have a bit of a play around with the modes, see what they look like. So you can kind of get different graph views like this, and some of them are useful, some of them are not. It really depends on what sort of visual layout you like. So over on the user collections, it's exactly the same. Build. You can go through and do what you like. The main thing that's a little bit different down here is with the user. Now with users, the way ConfigMgr reports them, it's domain name / username. That's the user login name. So for example, if I wanted to find myself in these collections, if I just type in Mike P, which is my username, it's not going to find anything, it comes back with nothing. So I can either do this, and that will find me. So my lab domain name is just home. Alternatively, you can just put in a percent mark as a wildcard as well, and that will do the same thing. So if we do that, and you can see it still returns the same thing, and you can put a wildcard at the other end if you want to as well. Other than that, it basically works identically to the device collection setup. Now we come over to the applications tab. This is a little bit different just because of the way the applications hang together. So you can do a search. I've only got a couple of applications in this in my lab, so it's not going to give you a particularly interesting graph. But this will mainly do the application dependency chain. So in this case, Notepad++ dash copy is dependent on Notepad++. Obviously, this is a lab and example, so it's not a particularly good example. And then whether or not it will install or not. So in this case, Notepad++ dash copy is dependent on Notepad++, but won't install it by default. And that's pretty much all there is to it for applications. So yeah, so that's basically it. It's still pretty beta at this stage, but I'm working on adding more views and more functionality as either I need them or people send me feature requests, basically. So if you've got things that are just driving you nuts because the information is too hard to get out of the console, and you'd like to have some sort of visual representation of that, send me a message via the website and I'll see what I can do, basically. Otherwise, thanks very much for watching. Send me any feedback, bug reports, feature requests, all that kind of stuff via the 20road.com website. Otherwise, I'm relatively active over on the SCCM subreddit, and I'll probably start getting into the Technic forums a bit more as well. So yeah, that's it. Thanks very much.